ExamPrep.School. NC Property Insurance Exam, exam code InsNC-Prop04. There are 5 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Commercial insurance coverages, personal insurance coverages, statutes and regulations, pertinent to property, terms and concepts. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Which statement best differentiates speculative risk from pure risk? A. Involves only the chance of loss or no loss. Gain is not possible. B. Involves only the chance of property damage caused by perils. C. Involves the possibility of loss and the opportunity for gain. D. Involves risks that cannot be transferred or insured under any policy. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is C. Speculative risk allows for a potential gain as well as a loss or no loss, whereas pure risk involves only the possibility of loss or no loss without any chance of gain. Reason A is not correct. Describes pure risk, which excludes any possibility of gain. Reason B is not correct. Describes a peril exposure scenario, not the definition of speculative risk. Reason D is not correct. Discusses insurability rather than the inherent outcomes of the risk. Question 2. Which of the following correctly distinguishes a moral hazard from a morale hazard? A. Intentional misrepresentation for financial gain versus deterioration of building materials over time. B. Mental attitude of indifference to loss versus conditions causing physical vulnerability. C. Unrealistic optimism about policy coverage versus fraudulent exaggeration of claims. D. Deliberate deceit to obtain a benefit versus unintentional carelessness that raises the chance of loss. The correct answer is D. A moral hazard arises from deliberate deceit or intentional misconduct to secure a benefit, while a morale hazard stems from unintentional carelessness or indifference that increases the likelihood of loss. Reason A is not correct. The moral hazard component is correct, but the second part describes physical deterioration rather than attitude-driven risk. Reason B is not correct. Describes a physical hazard rather than moral hazard and mislabels a morale hazard. Reason C is not correct. Both elements describe aspects of fraudulent or optimistic behavior, but omit the attitude-based carelessness of morale hazard. Question 3. A homeowner holds an HO3 policy. During a severe hailstorm, hailstones puncture several roof shingles and crack 2 boards on the wooden perimeter fence. Under the peril provisions of the policy, which of the following best describes the insurer's liability? A. Deny both losses because hail is excluded under the HO3 policy unless a specific endorsement is purchased. B. Pay for the roof damage only because hail is a named peril for the dwelling, but not for other structures. C. Pay for the fence damage only if a separate named peril endorsement was added for other structures. D. Pay for both the roof and fence damage because coverages A and B provide open peril protection under an HO3 policy. The correct answer is D. Under an HO3 policy, both dwelling, coverage A, and other structures, coverage B, are insured on an open peril basis, so hail damage to both the roof and fence is covered. Reason A is not correct. Hail is not an excluded peril under HO3. Open peril coverage applies unless a specific exclusion is listed. Reason B is not correct. Other structures share the same open peril coverage as the dwelling under an HO3 policy, so fence damage is not limited to named perils. Reason C is not correct. A separate named peril endorsement for other structures isn't needed, because coverage B follows the open peril form of coverage A. Question 4. Which of the following most accurately describes the method insurers typically use to calculate actual cash value for a property loss? A. Replacement cost less depreciation. B. Functional replacement cost less depreciation. C. Market value at the loss determination date. D. Replacement cost less salvage value. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is based on the insurance definition of actual cash value, which is replacement cost minus depreciation. Market value and salvage value adjustments are treated separately. Reason B is not correct. This refers to functional replacement cost methods, which are used when exact materials are unavailable rather than for calculating actual cash value. Reason C is not correct. Market value reflects supply and demand rather than the cost-based measurement insurers use for actual cash value. Reason D is not correct. Salvage value is handled after settlement and is not subtracted when determining actual cash value. Question 5. Which minimum percentage of a property's replacement cost must be insured to satisfy the typical coinsurance requirement and qualify for replacement cost coverage? A. 80%. B. 90%. C. 100%. D. 70%. The correct answer is A. The correct answer reflects the common coinsurance clause, stipulating that property must be insured for at least 80% of its replacement cost to receive full replacement cost benefits. Reason B is not correct. A 90% threshold exceeds the typical coinsurance requirement used in most property policies. Reason C is not correct. Requiring full 100% coverage would eliminate the coinsurance penalty, but is not the standard threshold. Reason D is not correct. A 70% requirement falls below the industry standard and would trigger a penalty if applied. Question 6. A homeowner with a functional replacement cost endorsement on their dwelling policy discovers that a section of original hardwood flooring destroyed by fire is antique and no longer manufactured. Under functional replacement cost settlement, the insurer will most likely A. Pay the actual cash value of the antique flooring based on its market value. B. Pay the cost to replace the damaged flooring with a modern material that performs the same function. C. Reimburse the cost of salvaging and restoring pieces of the original antique flooring. D. Provide custom reproduction antique flooring that matches the original design. The correct answer is B. Functional replacement cost covers the expense of replacing damaged property with modern materials that perform the same function, regardless of antique status or exact match to original design. It does not reimburse market value, restoration of originals, or specialty custom reproductions. Reason A is not correct. Actual cash value focuses on market value of the antique rather than cost to replace with a functional equivalent, so it does not apply under a functional replacement cost endorsement. Reason C is not correct. Restoring original antique components exceeds the scope of functional replacement cost, which does not cover restoration of originals. Reason D is not correct. Custom reproduction to match original design is akin to replacement cost for exact materials, but functional replacement cost limits coverage to modern equivalents, not specialty custom materials. Question 7. Which of the following elements is least likely to be found in the declaration section of a property insurance policy? A. Policy period including inception and expiration dates. B. Premium amount and payment schedule. C. Detailed list of covered perils in the insuring agreement. D. Name and address of the insured. The correct answer is C. The declaration section lists specifics such as the insured's name, policy period, coverage limits, deductibles, and premiums. It does not include the detailed list of covered perils which appears in the insuring agreement. Reason A is not correct. Policy period dates are consistently included in the declaration section to define coverage duration. Reason B is not correct. Premium amounts and payment schedules are standard items listed in the declarations. Reason D is not correct. The insured's name and address are fundamental details shown in the declarations. Question 8. An insured discovered mold growth from a slow roof leak and did not notify the insurer until after remediation. The homeowner's policy includes a mold exclusion and a condition requiring prompt notice of loss. The insurer denied the claim. Which interaction between the condition and the exclusion best justifies the insurer's denial? A. The mold exclusion eliminates coverage for mold damage regardless of notice compliance. B. The prompt notice condition is a prerequisite, and its breach permits denial without applying the mold exclusion. C. The insurer must invoke the mold exclusion before enforcing any policy conditions. D. The prompt notice condition affects only loss settlement procedures, not coverage availability. The correct answer is B. The prompt notice provision is a condition precedent. Failure to satisfy it entitles the insurer to deny coverage outright, so the insurer need not even reach the mold exclusion. Reason A is not correct. Although the mold exclusion would bar mold damage, the insured's failure to give prompt notice is the primary basis for denial in this scenario. Reason C is not correct. Conditions precedent must be satisfied before any exclusions can be considered, so the exclusion would not be applied first. Reason D is not correct. The prompt notice provision is a condition precedent to coverage itself, not merely a settlement mechanism. Question 9. Which of the following is not one of the basic elements required in the insuring clause of a standard fire policy? A. Statement of the insurer's promise to indemnify for covered losses. B. Clause detailing the insurer's salvage rights after a loss. C. Enumeration of the perils against which coverage is provided. D. Description of the property insured under the policy. The correct answer is B. The insuring clause of the standard fire policy establishes who is insured, what property is covered, and which perils are insured against. Salvage rights are part of the policy's conditions section, not its insuring clause. Reason A is not correct. The insurer's promise to indemnify is a core element of the insuring clause, so it cannot be the correct answer. Reason C is not correct. Listing the insured perils is a fundamental part of the insuring clause, so it is not the answer. Reason D is not correct. Identifying the property covered is essential to the insuring clause, making this an incorrect choice. Question 10. Under the standard fire policy, removal coverage automatically extends to property temporarily removed from the described premises for how many days? A. 30 days. B. 10 days. C. 5 days. D. 60 days. The correct answer is C. The standard fire policy removal extension covers property removed from the insured premises for a maximum of 5 days, while exposed to a named peril not listed under covered perils. Reason A is not correct. 30 days is typical under homeowners' forms, not the standard fire policy's removal extension. Reason B is not correct. 10 days is not the prescribed period for removal coverage under the standard fire policy. Reason D is not correct. 60 days exceeds the standard fire policy's specified removal coverage duration. Question 11. A homeowner applied for a standard fire policy and stated on the application that the roof was made of wood shingles, but it was actually high durability composite material. After a blaze, the insurer discovered this misstatement and intends to void the policy. Which statement best describes the insurer's right under the concealment and fraud conditions? A. The insurer may rescind the policy without proving that the misstatement increased the risk. B. The insurer must demonstrate that the composite roof materially increased the fire hazard before voiding. C. The insurer may deny the claim only if the misstatement was intentional. D. The insurer must wait until after the loss to void the policy. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the insurer may rescind the policy without proving that the misstatement increased the risk. Because under the policy's concealment and fraud clause, material misstatements allow voidance regardless of prejudice. Reason B is not correct. It is incorrect because the policy does not require proof of increased hazard when there is a material misstatement. Reason C is not correct. It is incorrect because intent is not required. Any material misstatement can void the policy. Reason D is not correct. It is incorrect because rescission can occur at any time, not only after a loss. Question 12. After a covered fire damaged Henry's warehouse, he reported the loss to the insurer the next day but did not provide a sworn proof of loss until 90 days later. The insurer denies the claim based on a policy condition violation. Which obligation under the policy did Henry fail to satisfy? A. Giving prompt notice of loss. B. Protecting property from further damage. C. Submitting a sworn proof of loss within the required time frame. D. Agreeing to an examination under oath. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is submitting a sworn proof of loss within the required time frame, because the policy requires this to establish the extent and details of the loss, and failure to comply allows denial of the claim. Reason A is not correct. It is incorrect because notice was given promptly as required by the policy. Reason B is not correct. It is incorrect because there is no indication that the property was left unprotected after the loss. Reason D is not correct. It is incorrect because there is no evidence that an examination under oath was requested or refused. Question 13. Under the eligibility provisions for dwelling property forms, DP1, DP2, DP3, which of the following dwellings is eligible for coverage? A. A 5-family residential dwelling on 4 acres. B. A mobile home sited on a permanent foundation. C. A cooperative apartment unit within a multi-unit complex. D. A seasonal vacation home left unoccupied for months at a time. The correct answer is D. Dwelling property forms permit coverage for seasonal or vacant homes regardless of temporary unoccupancy, whereas cooperative units, mobile homes, and structures with more than 4 families are ineligible. Reason A is not correct. Policies exclude dwellings with more than 4 families. Reason B is not correct. Mobile homes, even on permanent foundations, are excluded from standard DP forms. Reason C is not correct. Cooperative apartment units are not classified as dwellings under DP forms. Question 14. Under a dwelling property form, which of the following structures is covered as part of Coverage A dwelling? A. A deck attached to the dwelling by a continuous foundation. B. An unattached storage shed located 20 feet from the main structure. C. A private garage connected by a covered breezeway. D. A wooden fence enclosing the yard perimeter. The correct answer is A. Coverage A includes the main dwelling and any structures physically attached by a continuous foundation. Detached structures, fences, and buildings connected only by breezeways are excluded or covered under other coverages. Reason B is not correct. Detached storage sheds are not part of the dwelling and fall under additional coverages. Reason C is not correct. Structures linked only by a breezeway are not considered attached for Coverage A. Reason D is not correct. Fences are separate structures and not included in dwelling coverage. Question 15. A homeowner with a DP2 policy uses a detached garage to operate a photography business. Under Coverage B of the policy, which statement regarding that garage is correct? A. It qualifies for up to 10% of Coverage A because it is a detached structure subject to limited coverage. B. It is excluded from coverage B because any other structure used for business purposes is not covered. C. It would be covered only if located within 100 feet of the main dwelling, which it is. D. It is excluded only if it is rented to others, not for personal business use. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because coverage B of a DP2 policy specifically excludes other structures used in a business by the insured. Even if a building is detached, any business use disqualifies it from coverage B. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because incidental business structures are explicitly excluded and not covered under the 10% limit. Reason C is not correct. This is incorrect because coverage B does not impose a distance requirement of 100 feet for coverage of other structures. Reason D is not correct. This is incorrect because the exclusion applies to any business use, not only structures rented to others. Question 16. Under a DP3 policy, the insured suffers theft losses: a diamond bracelet worth $3,000, a family Bible valued at $600, and a shotgun valued at $2,700. How much will the insurer pay under coverage C? A. $6,300. B. $4,600. C. $5,100. D. $3,100. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because personal property special limits cap jewelry at $1,500 and firearms at $2,500. The Bible is not subject to a special limit and is fully covered, so the total is $1,500 plus $600. Just $2,500 equals $4,600. Reason A is not correct. This overstates coverage by ignoring the special limits on jewelry and firearms. Reason C is not correct. This miscalculates by applying the jewelry or firearm limit incorrectly. Reason D is not correct. This understates coverage by ignoring the firearm payout entirely. Question 17. According to ISO homeowners policy eligibility rules, a dwelling must be designed for occupancy by no more than how many families to qualify for coverage? A. 1 family. B. 2 families. C. 3 families. D. 4 families. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is 4 families because ISO homeowners forms apply to dwellings designed for occupancy by 1 to 4 families. Coverage is not available for dwellings housing more families. Reason A is not correct. Too restrictive because the policy extends to dwellings housing more than 1 family. Reason B is not correct. Incorrect because coverage extends beyond 2 family dwellings. Reason C is not correct. Incorrect since the policy includes dwellings up to 4 families. Question 18. Which of the following perils is not covered under the HO2 form? A. Lightning. B. Vandalism. C. Theft. D. Earthquake. The correct answer is D. Earthquake is not covered under the HO2 named peril form because earth movement perils are excluded. The form only covers specified perils. Reason A is not correct. Covered as one of the named perils under the form. Reason B is not correct. Vandalism is included among the named perils. Reason C is not correct. Theft is specifically listed as a covered peril. Question 19. Under an HO3 policy, which of the following causes of loss to the dwelling would be specifically excluded under Section 1? A. Theft. B. Falling objects. C. Lightning. D. Wear and tear. The correct answer is D. Wear and tear is excluded in the HO3 policy because deterioration due to age or lack of maintenance is not considered a sudden, accidental loss under Section 1. Reason A is not correct. Theft losses are covered for certain structures on an HO3 policy. Reason B is not correct. Falling objects are covered on an open peril basis for the dwelling. Reason C is not correct. Lightning is a covered peril under Section 1. Question 20. Under an HO5 form, what is the standard maximum limit for loss by theft of jewelry? A. $1,000. B. $5,000. C. $2,500. D. $1,500. The correct answer is D. The HO5 form provides a standard theft sublimit of $1,500 for jewelry within personal property coverage, unless a higher amount is endorsed. Reason A is not correct. This amount is too low compared to the standard sublimit for jewelry. Reason B is not correct. This amount far exceeds the standard limit for jewelry theft. Reason C is not correct. This amount exceeds the typical jewelry theft limit. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below. We read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.